Hey, what's up out there, Facebook? So a lot of people ask me, why do you need so many guitars? Like, what's the deal with collecting all these guitars, right? And so guitars are just like a tool in a tool chest. Why do you need a screwdriver, a socket wrench, and any other tool, right? And that's all it is it's a sound. It's a particular sound. And yes, they're all guitars, but while they're all guitars, each one of them has their own nuance. Each one of them has something, an element to it that sits better in the mix when you're mixing a song, a production. And also, whenever you're mixing a song, if you're tracking two guitars, you don't want to track two of the same guitar. Like, you don't want to do Fender Stratocaster on rhythm and Fender Stratocaster on lead. You kind of want to maybe do a Strat for rhythm and then a Les Paul for lead, or vice versa. It's good to have some different dynamics, some different tone quality. So I thought I would make a video to just kind of demonstrate to the audience what exactly each one of these guitars sounds like. So I'll start with the 335, and then I'll move over to the Les Paul, and I'll move over to the Strat. I'm not going to play anything too fancy. I'm just going to kind of jam around and just kind of give you an ear full of beautifulness. So this guitar right here is a oops, sorry about that. This is a Gibson ES335. Okay, this one's a 2016 model. It's got the Grover tuners. It's got a beautiful, it's a plain top, but you can see the wood grain through the cherry. And yeah, they don't make these anymore in Memphis. The Memphis plant shut down, and all the ES335s are now going to be done in Nashville as of 2020. So keep an eye out on those. Those are supposed to be pretty slick, but the thing about this guitar really is that, this guitar is, it's iconic. It's an iconic guitar. Any guitar player who's a guitar player owns a 335. Eric Clapton played a 335, and then there are different variations like a 345, a 355. So your 345 has a little bit more embellishments. Your 355 has even more embellishments, and what I mean by embellishments is the inlays on the fretboard look a little bit different. You get a Veritone switch, which they got rid of actually with the new 345 model, so the Veritone is gone. But this particular guitar is one that I've always wanted. It's not the 345, but it reminds me very much of Marty McFly in Back to the Future when he's playing Johnny Be Good at the prom dance. And so this guitar is very special to me in that regard from my childhood. And so this is kind of what it sounds like. I'm just going to kind of pick on it for a little bit. So you can hear it's got a lot of bite. It's got a lot of shrill to it, but and a lot of punch. But these are burst bucker pickups, so they're Alnico 2s. Alnicos come in different variations, like the original 50s Les Paul that just came out that I used to own with the burst. That one's Alnico 3s. I don't really like hot pickups like the 60s Les Pauls have a Alnico 5s. It's more like metal slash kind of tone. I've always been really preferential to a vintage tone. So you can kind of hear just how crunchy that is. It just has this great tone. All right, let me introduce the next guitar here. I don't want to make a super long video, but I'll go ahead and swap these out. Pick up the Les Paul. So this guitar is a original 50s. Now, it's not from 1950. I can't afford one of those. This is an original 50s. That's the name of the model. They got rid of the, I think, the Les Paul Classic. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I don't think Les Paul ever had a vintage series like the Fender Stratocasters do, but this guitar, when Les Paul first came out with the Les Paul, had the P90 pickups in it. I've always loved P90s. If you like Pink Floyd The Wall, David Gilmour used Les Paul with P90 pickups, gold top. It's like a Stratocaster in my ear, to my opinion. It's like a Stratocaster, but it's got more punch, more bite, more gain, but it still maintains this kind of glassy, very bell-like. It's just the clean tones sound amazing. And I just, like I said, I don't like hot pickups, so to get a Les Paul with screaming humbuckers is just not my thing. But this one sounds a little bit different. You'll kind of hear the tonal differences. This one's a little bit more in your face. You know what I mean? And it just has a different kind of feel to it. The action feels way different. I've got some different tonal options I can choose from. It's got a really great... It's just got a more rock in your face tone, you know, like. You know what I mean? It just has a different. So it's a little bit different. Yeah, I really dig this thing a lot. It's great. All right, next example, last example. It's going to be the Stratocaster, which you'll notice that unless you have a keen ear, it's really hard to tell the difference between a Les Paul and a 335. I mean, some of you aren't guitar players out there. Some of you, my Facebook friends, are. And so it's really something your ear develops over time. But you can hear the difference definitely between a Stratocaster and anything Gibson, because the single coils, these have single coils in it. So this is an original 60s Stratocaster, right? This is not like a real vintage 60s Stratocaster. I can't afford one of those either. This is a model called the original 60s Stratocaster, set in a Olympic white with a mint pick guard. And it's built to spec according to the era of the 60s. So this thing is just absolutely lovely, and it's got a hell of a lot of vibe. It just has this excellent tone, and Stratocaster just sounds different. It's more, think Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? You know, it's just more. I messed up there, but just has a different tone. I mean, I love Strats. Stratocaster is my absolute favorite guitar. I mean, you know, it's like... just has a different... just has a different sound. I mean, I don't know. I love it. So, and that's the three differences. I mean, the three guitars that I have. I wish I had a Telecaster here so I could demonstrate that one so you can see what that sounds like. Telecaster is like a Stratocaster, but brighter, twangier, and to me, in my opinion, the most versatile guitar really for any genre of music. And it just really sits well in the mix. You know, when you've got tracks where you've got drums and bass and backup vocals and lead vocals and all these things going on in the track, you know, a Telecaster really sits nice. And I found that a Stratocaster and a Les Paul together, whether one's playing lead, one's playing rhythm, or both are playing rhythm, but they're playing different things. I mean, the timbre is just really amazing in the mix, and you can kind of tweak things with EQ a little bit. But if I found that if I use the same guitar for every guitar track in a song, it just doesn't have the same vibe. It doesn't have the same. It just doesn't click as well. It just doesn't have that magic that you're looking for. So, you know, I think that, like I said, guitars are like tools. Every single one of them is different. You could have 10 of the same guitar, and each one of those will sound different. But all in all, I think that having a collection of guitars is more than just a crazy obsession. I mean, it is, for a guitar player, a real guitar player, it's a need. And then we haven't even touched on amps. I don't have any other amps to compare, but I'm like Marshall amps are different than Fender amps, are different than Orange amps. And then you can get into pedals, and you know, you might have like not all overdrive pedals are the same, not all fuzz pedals are the same. They're all on different circuits, different capacitors. So you can really kind of get into a nitty gritty, and I think that's what makes every guitar player unique, is that every guitar player, they might have a collection of guitars, but they might use different pedals, they might use different amps, they have different things that they like. Everybody, like I noticed that like JD Simo, he uses specific tubes for his amps. He has to have a specific tube, you know, and it can get very granular with circuitry and all this stuff. But for the most part, for the intended purposes of this video is just kind of demonstrate the tone of each guitar, how they look, a little bit about their history, and what makes people like myself so nuts about collecting all of them. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.